What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of No Client Agent Privilege, aka No Cap Podcast. Your boy Evan, your boy Will. We are back in the LSE HQ. We are in full draft prep mode, or draft night mode, I guess I would say more so than it. We're right here where it's draft week. So cue the music of dun dun dun, for draft time, and that's. Yeah, you are on the clock. So, just to kind of start with, in general terms of this draft class as a whole, I don't want to say it's been like not disrespected, but just like under encouraged, I guess I would say. Like, as if like these kids just are not going to make that big of an impact on a team, or like there aren't that many prospective Hall of Famers or franchise players, stuff like that. I feel like maybe because I'm looking at it from a different perspective of the agent world now,
Right.
Whereas 5 years ago, that's not really how I looked at it. I just looked at best available player per se. But with regards to overall, I'm just like, I can't believe I'm hearing such like down talk of this draft class.
I think that you're right in the sense that maybe there hasn't been a lot of hype, and maybe this class has been relatively underappreciated going into it. But we've seen some draft classes that were supposed to be prolific and they didn't pan out that way. I think you look at
I agree.
2017, I think, or I look back at Tua, Marcus Mariota, Josh Rosen.
Yep.
There's been plenty of times, plenty of drafts. Obviously, I don't remember specific years, but there have been many players that were supposed to go one way and they didn't. So why not let them be silent and underappreciate this class and just put them on the field and we'll see what happens.
Maybe the NFL is learning to use reverse psychology. Maybe they're like, you know what? If we say these kids aren't all going to be Hall of Famers, they all become Hall of Famers. Oh, this whole first round, we downplayed them. Now they're all Hall of Famers, and it's like, reverse psychology. So maybe that's where the league's going this year with their draft.
Absolutely. I think that you just have to stay hungry and stay hopeful. There's no way of saying if someone's going to be a Hall of Famer from the jump, and you look at different players that have come out between, I guess you could say, the Tom Brady's. I don't want to put them in the same sentence necessarily, but the Brock Purdy's,
and
the Lamars, even the ones that fall somewhere in between the first round and the last one. Opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity, and I think that if you're somebody that's name gets called, in general, that you really just have to go out there and do what you have to do and tune out all this extra noise and reverse psychology that really could be a factor in this day and age of NFL football.
Well, of course. I mean, that's also the other thing is when your name gets called, it doesn't matter what Tom Brady says. It doesn't matter if it's first or 199. It's when you put the pads on, do you, one, come to work every day to fight for your job, or two, are you just going to let somebody else, basically come in and take your job that was not drafted or not, brought in through that, or, free agency, whatever it may be, rookie minicamp. So it's like the draft is just one step of a very tough process just to make a roster. So I mean, just to say that you're a first round draft pick does not guarantee that you have this like lifelong career set ahead of you. We've seen it plenty of times before between like some of the guys you have actually mentioned, and how one contract later their football career is done.
Exactly.
So but I mean, I also believe with this draft class too, it's like I have heard so much talk about trade up, trade back, trade this, trade that. I think, I feel like there's always like 3 or 4, solid trades throughout, maybe trade back, trade up, somebody trades this, that. There's no true, what's the movie, draft date movie, trade the first overall for 2 firsts and and David Putney, stuff like that. But, I feel like this is probably one of the most talked about draft, trade backs, trade ups, type drafts that I've heard, especially in the first round. I can like almost guarantee you rounds 2 through 7 are going to be all over the place. Like these GMs are going to have to be on their toes with regard to the trades that are going to be coming in from rounds 2 to 7 for sure.
It's more specific every year. I think when you look at data analytics and how far data analytics has come and
so much
statistics and math to help you make your decisions, which is great. But I think that teams have kind of been able to hone in on deciding what talent they need off the board versus what talent they should probably grow from within or what they have to work with already. So when you see those trade ups, trade downs, it's really just because there's a player that they really know that they want, and maybe they just did enough homework on them to pull the trigger and give up some capital in order to get what they want, or I guess in some cases what they need, and run in that respect.
Right, of course. And again, like kind of like what you said, so we're like in that I would say like a hybrid of the old school and the new school. And I'm sure in the old school and new school of scouting, like the analytics side and stuff like that, I can basically say I can guarantee you that in-house in organizations, there are probably some major headbutting of those analytical guys, the younger generational scouts versus the old head scouts that are just watching hours and hours of film. How cohesive they turn out to be, I think this is one of those draft classes where you got to listen to both sides and understand, what kind of like what you said, what do we need? What can we trade up for? Or what do we need to trade up for? What can we give up or trade back for and not get hurt, lose a player? Because it's not like the teams have to be truthful with each other. One team that needs an edge could tell another team, hey, we're not going to take an edge this round. Trade up and then obviously take the guy that they were looking at because they thought they were taking tight end or a running back, whatever it may be, and then they end up taking the guys, the other team's player that they were looking at that they were hoping to trade back for. It's all one big game.
You make an interesting point with the old school and the new school, and when I was in NBA classes, we spoke about this a few times in terms of that debate, and I think that the old school will always have a purpose and a need until the old school is gone. In a sense, I think that everyone's learning the new school way with data analytics and maybe a little bit of AI to help sort through data and whatnot. But you still have those old school guys that are obviously on payroll and have a really good standing. Like, I guess you want to say tenure.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going anywhere, and I think that their opinions are highly respected to the point where they're not going anywhere. And you kind of have to live with them until you don't.
Well, there's 2 things with that, and this is more so because it is so new with the analytics side. The analytics are great in the sense of looking at certain player aspects, but there are certain things analytics can't prove in an organizational standpoint that on film you might catch certain things that analytics don't. So,
coachability is one of them.
Coachability, personality traits, character. Right. So analytics will never be able to grade that other than having maybe, let's just say, a formal interview where you're AIing the tones and the voice recognition and stuff like that, whether, it's high pitch line, it's something to that extent where they're using voice recognition to kind of adapt themselves to see if this player is being truthful or something like that. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But with regards to old school versus new school, your old school scouts will never go away because somebody has to watch the film. You can't always trust the numbers between a player and certain aspects of what they did on the field. A player that has a terrible season, but you just know the record of the team doesn't look exactly the same as him off the field. The plus minus side, I guess you could say, of the player. The analytics might not always show that if the player has such a down year, background that we don't know, family, again, let's just say character or something happening behind the scenes that, again, the analytical side might not be able to take into consideration. Again, you might not, understand what happened until you have that old school scout go in and have those conversations of, hey, what was it this season? Was it the coaching changes? Was it this? Was it that? Those are what those old school scouts, because again, when you talk about those new school guys, they don't have that personality, the people skills to go have those conversations. I feel like a lot of the scouts that are older might have and know how to present themselves to a guy who, he knows he had a bad year, but you just don't want to go in and, hey, look at these numbers I've got. Your analytics suck, and we can't draft you. Right. An old school scout might be able to be like, hey, look, man, I heard what happened with your family. I'm sorry to hear about that. I know you're a great player. Just the other stuff other than football and analytics that'll keep old school scouts around for the rest of the NFL, because that will never go away. The analytics could end up being wrong for certain players. I mean, how many analytics were given on certain quarterbacks, in the last, now let's just say 5 years, that we've driven up that were correct 100%. Like we could go back in the last 5 drafts.
Even if there is a number for that, it's still hard to necessarily tell.
You don't. Yeah, agreed.
It's only the only job, and you're right from the beginning of what your point was. The analytics are only as good as the people that interpret them, I think.
Right. Agreed.
I think that's important to know going into the future and in drafts to come. I understand that AI is a big thing. I understand that data analytics is an important part of the game.
For sure.
I think that the hard-headed old school way of going out there, actually scouting, seeing these people in person, watching the film, putting in the hours instead of, I guess, taking shortcuts is still the way.
Shortcuts. Yeah.
Get the best talent, the best people out there on the field or court, but obviously we're talking in terms of draft. So
right, and that's another thing is the field side is the numbers and the ability will never lie. So if you're watching enough film and you can physically see the difference of this guy versus that guy and understand why that guy's better, even though their numbers are relatively the same or their scores are relatively the same, that's what analytics might not be able to, numbers wise, make the difference. They're the same build, they run the same, their average, yards per catch are similar, blah, blah, whatever the analytics might say. But when you look at those other on the field plays, like did he block better? Did he have a special teams run where he was playing special teams only year one, like, just other things that a scout would look for from year one during, draft style, like what they're looking for all the way through to their draft eligible season. What is it that they saw that, did they watch the progression? And sometimes the analytics, other than showing you the numbers, can't really show you what he developed as a player. Okay, yeah, he got more catches because he got more reps, but how good did he get with his routes? How good did he develop? Like, was he already a great route runner? Just certain football side of, analytics that might not be able to be noted or number what's the word I'm looking for? The numbers being able to display about it. Like it's not a factor or figure that can be displayed on numbers on certain things. So again, tangible is the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
Intangibles, yeah, that we're looking for as a player that has progressed. Where are those intangibles of a wide receiver, a quarterback, offensive tackle? Has he gotten more flexible? Has he gotten better hand? Just little things like that can't be analytically put on paper and stuff. So, yeah, so that's why I think with regards to old, new, everyone will always have a job. It'll always just depend on what the team views as beneficial or more beneficial. I would say, do they lean more towards the old ways, or do they lean more towards the analytics? Every team has their preferences for sure, and GMs definitely have their preferences as well. So just kind of depends. But I think the draft will be interesting. I think like I said, 2 through 7 will be kind of a little bit all over the place, and I think a lot of fans might like it. I think a lot of fans might just be like, why do we do that? Why do we trade this? Why do we trade that? Like, you know how sports fans are. So
yeah, I'm sure there'll be something that one team does that is not going to be looked at kindly by its fan base. But that's
always.
Like, again, sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I want to move on to basketball. NBA playoffs, first round is basically, we're right in the middle of it. We're going back to the lower seeds home now, and a lot of these series are tied at 1 game apiece, with the exception of, as it stands right now, the Cavs Raptors series and the Lakers Houston series.
Right.
We could start with those two. Obviously, we said that Cavs Raptors was either going to be close or it wasn't going to be close. And I know that sounds kind of easy to say, but what we really meant was that either the Raptors are going to show what they've kind of shown over the course of the season, or the Cavs were going to show what they've shown over the course of the season, which is some flashes of being that team that was the first seed. I think not even was that last year?
I think last year. Yeah, last year, the year before with Donovan Mitchell in there.
Yeah, so seems like they're doing what I expected them to do, and it could have went either way. But now we're going back to Toronto. So
yeah, I mean, we'll see how and again, you're number 4 seed, number 5 seed, so you do have a playoff Harden with you. I think the Raptors, they just did not look good those first couple games. It'll be interesting to see if they can bounce back at home. Like LeBron brought up a good point. Like he was, the interviewer asked him about going back to Houston, and he said, everyone always plays better at home. He's like, we just proved that ourselves. They're more hungry at home. So we'll see if the Raptors are a little bit more hungry at home. If they're not, it could be a quick series for the Cavs. I truly believe the Raptors have a little bit more fight in them. I think offensively they've just been a little sporadic, and not being able to get the ball in the bucket definitely does kill your momentum trying to make comebacks and stuff. So I think the Lakers have just been the better team overall. Like those 2-0s are for a reason. Like you can definitely see, like even with KD coming back, I mean, the Lakers offense was just clicking. I mean, it was going. So
yeah, Luka might not even need to come back for this.
Yeah, at this point,
take care of things. And honestly, Houston just might be checked out. They really might be, especially because the expectation was probably not to go down 0-2, and it's just sad because you're missing Steven Adams, you missed Kevin Durant for the first game, you're still missing Fred VanVleet. What do you really have to lean on besides KD, Şengün.
Yeah, I mean, you got to lead on the guy they call, a future Hall of Famer. I mean,
he doesn't want to be a leader.
But that's not the point. You've got to, if you're gonna lean on him, you're gonna have to force him into a position where he's either gonna break the team or make the team. Like, you are a potential Hall of Famer here, and you're going to sit back and just let your team go down. Like, there's a reason even on the terrible LeBron playoff run teams that were not depth wise very good. LeBron knew what he stood for in the sense of being the king of the NBA. He stood up and did what he had to do to carry those teams. Now, if KD's, and we've known KD not to be that guy, then the Rockets will go down 4-0, 5-1, whatever, to make this series end 4-1 real quick. It doesn't really matter because that's all you've got. Like you just said, there's no what other leadership role or what other leadership. Yeah, I mean, what other leadership does Houston have? So
if they had Van Vliet, I think things are different.
I agree with that.
Hats off to the Lakers for doing their thing without Luka and without Reeves. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So if they can get out of this series into the next one, they're looking to face the winner of Suns Thunder, who there's really not much to say about that series besides. I mean, the game 2's tonight, so don't really have to talk about that.
Nope.
I think Thunder can do what they did last game. Spurs Blazers is an interesting story that's been developing because
without Wemby, yeah,
with a concussion that didn't look good. Objectively speaking, it didn't look good the way that he hit his head.
I agree.
The only silver lining is that I'm sure it's probably worse. You could probably attest to this playing football. It's worse when you get hit in the back of the head than when you get hit in the front. So
but yeah, and I mean, at least a little bit softer. Yeah, I mean, again, when you get diagnosed with that, it's like your minimum 5 days. So let's just say 5 days from what game 3 is what. Saturday or Friday?
Game 3
Friday.
is Friday.
So game 3 is Friday. So that's so yesterday they played, right?
He's done for 3 and 4 for sure. Maybe he comes back
so
5, maybe.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We'll be back by game 6.
I mean, if there is one, right. So
it is headed back right now to Portland. So you'd hope that they get at least one at home, especially with probably one of the NBA's most dominant players out right now.
Well, it does have him listed as GTD, game time decision.
For game 3?
Yes.
Oh. Well, maybe they just follow different concussion rules than the NFL does.
Possibly. But it does say status is GTD. So that's actually interesting because if he was out, I
wouldn't rush it. I'd say at least one game, but hey,
I mean, again,
playoffs.
I mean, if Wemby wants to show his toughness and be like, yo, that hit was nothing, then let him play. I mean, again, it's kind of one of those things where the player has to tell you how bad it is, and you have to take their word for it. So now, again, if he's, let's just say, forgetting stuff, or obviously that's a little bit more long-term concussion issues, but let's just say he's having brain farts in practice or something like that. All right, it's like, all right, take a rest. Let's get you back in game 5 and we'll talk then. Okay, something to that extent. But if he says, come, let's just say, okay, game 3, hey coach, at Wemby, we're gonna sit you for this game just as precaution. Okay, we want you to still travel with the team. You'll play game 4 and we'll go from there. Okay, great. That's basically 5 days anyways, from game 4. So he could be cleared again. Like I said, seeing that it's still listed him as game time decision suggests to me that they'll probably call it for game 3 and then game 4 they'll let him play. So playoff, if anything, the Trailblazers really need to hone in for game 3 and really take that game if Wemby does not play. Because if that happens, the return back to San Antonio will be insanity if they're down 3-1.
For sure. I want to skip ahead to our 2-3-6 matchups between the Timberwolves, Nuggets, and the Hawks, Knicks. And I want to kind of discuss them at the same time and see which one do we feel, which 6 seed between the Timberwolves or the Hawks do we feel has a better chance to upset the 3 seed as it stands right now with both series 1-1.
So, I mean, I guess if you want to just go off of historically speaking or like the possibility, I feel like the Knicks are the bigger choke artists. I think the Nuggets, T-Wolves have had a better historically battles, to game 7, see, who makes it through. But like, I feel like the pressure has always been on the Knicks when it comes to even like a 3-6 game or, the series that they're supposed to win. Somehow, some way, the Knicks end up losing it. If that's what we're trying to figure out, like which one is going to be the team to mess up or the team to lose and win in a series that they're not supposed to, I would say the Knicks. But I definitely believe that the T-Wolves could take Nuggets to 7 and pull a game out, game 7. I think I'm going to still sit with the Nuggets winning in 6 and the Knicks winning in 5. So, we will see what ends up happening.
Okay.
I don't know what your thought process on the Knicks. I only watched the back half of the season for the Knicks when they really got on that roll. So I couldn't tell you if this is just like right timing for them or if this is like, Atlanta might have their number in certain aspects of it, because I did watch that last game and it was pretty even. I feel like there were definitely some like moments where maybe, I don't know, when I saw kind of the Knicks roster, it always still kind of like, I'm like, is this a championship team? Like, like it's like when they go, if they, say if they beat the Hawks, if they play the Celtics, is that a sweep for the Celtics? Like, I feel like the Celtics would just like run through them. Like, Philly's giving them a good run right now, and I think that series is a lot closer after watching that last game. I think that series is a lot closer than what a lot of people think.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the Knicks, no, because if you go back to last year, the Knicks before Tatum got hurt were still giving the Celtics a run for their money. I think they had already taken, 2 games? A game? I think it was a game.
Is that what it was?
Let me do a little bit. Let's see.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, even for this series right now, because like for the Hawks and Knicks, like I feel like that game was pretty even until that fourth quarter, and Atlanta just went on that that big run and really put it on the Knicks. I mean, I think the Knicks shot like less than 50% the whole fourth quarter. So when that happens in a playoff game, it's very hard to win. So if that keeps happening, especially at home, when you're supposed to win at home. I don't know. I mean, I see. Obviously, I believe that the Knicks have a good team, and I think they are still supposed to beat the Hawks. And I think the same with the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are supposed to beat the T-Wolves. I think the T-Wolves are good. I think Anthony Edwards is good. I think Rudy Gobert is defensively a great player. Julius Randle poking at Joker is probably one of those like Lance Stevenson moments we'll always see, like just blowing in LeBron's ear, like who does that? Who's it? Just stuff like that.
The Knicks were, so it was right. It was game 4 that Jason Tatum got hurt, which is
Right.
it was 3 or 4. It definitely wasn't 1 or 2. And the Knicks.
No, it wasn't 1 or 2.
No, the Knicks were already up in that game, and that was
right.
the game to go up 3-1. So,
right.
If anything, they got better this year. So
you think that the Knicks got better this year?
Yeah, I mean the roster didn't really change with the exception of adding like some bench pieces.
But I'm saying do you believe that Boston didn't get better this year?
It's also like the same team.
Yeah, but with a healthy Tatum. I mean, I understand you're saying 3-1 still, but
they had him last year too. Technically, I mean, it was the semifinals that he got hurt in. So like,
I know, but like when that happens, like your team, the air from your sail is gone.
I think all the credit goes to the Celtics for the season that they had with the absence of him. But I think that kind of kept them going in the sense that they knew that he was getting ready to come back, and they had to be in the playoffs to kind of meet him halfway in that sense and do something for him as he was working for them. I mean, to come back in less than a year from an Achilles injury is spectacular. It's nothing short of. So,
right, exactly.
I think that they will meet in the semifinals again. Do I think
agree.
they win this time? Probably not. But they still have to make it out of their respective series. And I think that's
I agree
about this because we're here talking about it as 1-1 going back
to Atlanta.
Seeds home. If they can bring it back again 2-2, steal another game on the road, we're looking at a game 7, maybe game 6.
I agree.
Anything can happen at this point, and I think that that's the great thing about it. But that's why I do agree. I think the Knicks are more likely to lose their series against the 6th seed.
Right. That's my logic behind it, at least.
The Celtics are going to come out more prepared the next couple of games. I think maybe game 2 last night was a little bit of a shock to them.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Maxey and Edgecombe just both were on.
Yeah. VJ just went all. I mean, again, I think who said it? Like, like Pete, like Paul George was like, you had that, you did that. Like even Paul George, like looking at the stat line in the press conference after, the post game press conference, was like, damn, VJ, like you really did go off tonight. Like when when a guy like PG doesn't even realize like how much you did in a game, that you were doing that much, like. Because, it's usually him having to do that much to keep the team in or to win the game. So,
exactly.
Again, looking at it from that perspective, and a guy like that's like, damn, like you really did go off. Like that's a good sign, obviously, for the future, but just in respect to, maybe helping light the fire to get Paul George to have one of those games in the coming games,
Right, exactly. So, yeah, but that's pretty much it. We got some action on tonight. Magic Pistons are on as we speak, which I don't think anyone expected the Magic to take
game 1. No,
but we're gonna see what happens this game, and we'll circle back next week and see where we are as far as the second round stands as we
that's it.
Out some of these matchups.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where some of these, especially those 4-5s, to see if they can actually, if they can sweep, those are series where if you can have a couple extra days to prepare for the 1 seeds, it's very, very crucial, you could be a 4-5 and a 1 seed ends up going, let's just say 6 games, saves you 3-4 days extra to get ready for them.
Exactly.
So it is a big deal if these 4-5 seeds can, get into that conference semifinals to really, lock into, whoever they play, but an extra few days will, definitely jolt that team, that 4-5, whoever gets into that position. So it'll be interesting. I'd like to see if the Cavs or the Lakers can sweep and get ready for that 1 seed, how well, they can be prepared for that game 1.
That's a great point.
So,
for sure.
All right. Well, yeah, like you said, we will get on that on the next episode, because by then we might have a sweep per se, if that is the case. So
Yeah, definitely.
we could definitely see what's going to happen there and kind of go from there. But that's a next episode problem, and we'll talk about that then.
For sure.
All right. Perfect. All right, man. Well, we will wrap it up for this episode, and we will get back with you guys on the next one, and we'll see how the series all turned out and how the draft turned out, with regards to all the big trades and this downplay of this draft class, and kind of see where some of these teams actually viewed some of these players that they were, let's just say reverse psychology, trying to downplay this entirety of the draft class. So it'll be interesting, and we'll talk about that next time. So. Will, anything last words for you?
I'm good. We will see what happens this big week for the two biggest sports in America.
Yeah, literally. So, all right. Well, for another episode of No Client Agent Privilege, aka the No Cap Podcast, your boy Will, your boy Evan, and we will see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.